Hello everyone and welcome to this live broadcast where we are today joined by Wirtek, who has released their report for the second quarter of 2024. Joining us from what I presume to be Denmark is Michael Aaen, CEO. Welcome.
Michael.
So you'll be presenting the results at first and then I'll come back and ask some questions. So without further ado, please go ahead.
Thank you. So Q2 for Wirtek has been really busy. We've been executing on our acquisition strategy and have been through a long due diligence of our Pragmasoft acquisition that we actually closed right in the beginning of 2024, July 24. We've also been building up our capacity in business development. So indeed, it has been really a very nice trend we are seeing for the future in Wirtek here. But again, for the financial side of the business, yes, it is a little bit under pressure still. But if we can go to the second slide, just to wrap up here, that we actually have just closed 2 acquisitions. We have been focused on advancing our strategy during Q2, and we just got into Q3 when we actually acquired Pragmasoft, which is a profitable IT services company in Portugal, which has a very clear focus on the clean energy sector. And by doing this acquisition, we actually also achieved one of our strategic goals in Accelerate 25 Excel strategy of having multiple sourcing locations in Wirtek. We also acquired the assets of Seluxit, which is a Danish IoT company with platforms and services for the clean energy sector. And they actually also have solutions towards the EdTech sector as well. Clean energy really continues to be a big growth driver for Wirtek when we are operating in quite of a stagnant market right now. We've seen a rapid expansion of our clean energy revenue by expanding by 95% actually during the second quarter of this year compared to the same quarter of last year. And we actually have our clean energy or our energy business unit being the biggest business unit in Wirtek from being the smallest beginning of last year. So the growth has really been exceptional there. And we actually now will see an even further growth inside of the energy business unit by the acquisitions of Pragmasoft and Seluxit. We are also building more resilient revenue streams in Wirtek here. We are trying to augment our clean energy service offerings with products and platforms. And this is also the intention here is also to drive higher margins and growth in the future of Wirtek. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll just present the Q2 results. So we generated 16.8 million Danish kroner in revenue during Q2. It's a slight decrease compared to the same level of last year. Our EBITDA was 0.7 million Danish kroner, which is actually quite a bit below last year. But we've also had very significant investments during Q2, both in acquisitions as well as in building up business development. We've added 3 senior business developers in the company in the recent months here. We've also seen some clients holding back on investments, which has reduced some revenue with existing clients. And we've had a little bit of an overcapacity that has, of course, increased our costs in the lower term, in the shorter term here. So our EBITDA margin was still positive with 4% in Q2. If we look at some of the key ratios that we are very focused on, earnings per share is important for us, and it was 0.13 Danish kroner per share. And because of the lower EBITDA margin that we have here, yeah, this is a reduction of 54% compared to the same period of last year. Our equity ratio actually increased by 26% to 60% now, and our liquidity ratio has grown by 11% to 146%. So yes, the financial results are under pressure right now, but we already now start seeing some very positive trends that we expect is going to give us a positive boost on, especially the organic revenue in the short term as well. So that was the presentation of the financials from here. So back to you for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Michael. I think I'll start sort of where you ended in regards to your decreased revenue and the decreased EBITDA as well as its margins. You mentioned that significant investments were behind this, but also according to a report at least, an overcapacity due to reduction in purchases from existing clients. Could you elaborate a little bit on this decrease?
Well, just like many other companies, Wirtek, we've felt the pressure with this very challenging geopolitical situation we have both in the Middle East as well as still in Ukraine, and we still haven't seen the full benefit of the inflation coming down. So the interest rates are still high. So a lot of companies are holding back on investments right now and also feeling their markets are under pressure. So we actually tried to be proactive all the way back in the end of 2022 and said, let's focus on an industry we definitely do not see being very much pressured during this kind of period, which was the energy sector, because there's so much focus building up clean energy in especially Europe right now, but also a lot of other places in the world right now. So we made that focus and it has really paid off for us, right? But again, we've been losing revenue in other business units of the company and so we just about breaking even there, but definitely the clean energy focus here is helping us during this challenging period. But we think this is the right things we've been doing here, focusing on the clean energy there, and with the acquisitions we've just done here, it's going to boost it even more.
Indeed, the macroeconomic sort of situation, of course, is challenging, but the exception to the rule, as you mentioned, was your energy segment, which you reported a revenue increase of 95%. What is continuing to drive the energy segment for you?
Well, I guess demands from our clients because they see demands from their clients, right? So definitely it's a sector that is so much focused on in countries, right? So definitely we continue to see a steady stream of new orders in that sector.
And when you were presenting, you mentioned that you're creating sort of stronger revenue challenge or perhaps more durable revenue channels for your energy segment. But is it only the revenue segment you're doing this to, or you're also looking at your other segments?
Well, absolutely. This is part of a augmentation of our existing offerings as we see it. We're focusing right now on the energy part because that's where we are focusing also a lot of our business development efforts there. So it makes a lot of sense for us also to start augmenting these services in a sector where we have a lot of drive right now. So Pragmasoft, is also an IT services company to a big extent, but they also developed products as part of their portfolio. And the acquisition of Seluxit definitely has attributed to even giving us very strong platform as well as products on top of that can help us drive the service even better. And as you probably understand with Wirtek is that our core business is IT outsourcing IT services. It is a one-to-one type of business where you have to deliver the services by putting a person behind every time, right? When we go in this extended direction here, now we are also going to be able to provide services and products for our clients that scale in a totally different way with much higher margins as well. So that is going to help us in the medium to long term become even more profitable in the company.
And you're adding even more wood to the fire as you have acquired two companies. You talked a little bit about them here. I think we'll start with Portuguese Pragmasoft. Could you begin by telling us a little more about this company and how it sort of fits in towards your 2025 strategy?
Well, it does check one of our marks in our strategy, having sourcing locations in multiple destinations, meaning we've been very focused on our Romanian site, but we also want to have outside there. It's just also a part of a risk management setup for the company, right? So now we also have Portugal as a potential sourcing destination for our clients in our existing IT services business. But they also are very much in especially the Portuguese market for energy services there. And we see this being a good driver also for us to expand our services even more, both in Portugal, but also being able to bring in new companies, new clients that also can be serviced from Portugal as well.
Why was Portugal the right decision for your next outsourcing location? Why not Spain, France, Belgium?
Well, we've done a lot of investigations for potential locations there. We would like to stay inside of EU. Things just become a lot easier when you are part of EU. But Portugal is quite interesting for us because they also have a special visa agreement with Brazil, meaning that we actually have access to a lot of very, very great talent from Brazil that can be taken into Portugal and help work for us. So it's also a matter of having the necessary capacity here. And they have also regulations in Portugal that are quite business friendly as well.
Would you say that it opened us for potential clients over the Atlantic?
Well, yeah, of course. If you look a little further over there, if we want to, right now, USA is our clients from USA are actually the second largest geographical segment for Wirtek. But we're delivering a lot of those services for our US clients inside of EU. But if we want to be more present, for instance, in the US, having sourcing locations in the same, time zone definitely could be a plus, right? So if we look even further ahead, I wouldn't say that would be an impossibility that we could have a center over there as well at some point in the future.
Let's talk a little bit about the price tag of this acquisition. The price tag is at 1.2 million euros, and this is split between cash but also Wirtek shares. Is this existing shares or is it new shares?
Well, the structure is, part of it is an upfront payment that consists of mostly cash and some shares, and then there is an earnout running in the period 24 to 26, where there is also a share between cash as well as Wirtek shares. Now, for the upfront part here, we've chosen to issue new shares to deliver for the sellers. But we have not made that decision for the earnouts that are going to be in the coming years here. That's the decision we're going to take year from year, what makes sense for us. When we did the Corpil acquisition, we actually went out and purchased all the shares in the market to deliver for them, But it's always the balance, finding out how are we going to finance the acquisitions.
And after this period and looking at the earnout potentially in the future, the price tag in total will land between the 1.2 million euros and 2 million euros, unless I'm mistaken. But you mentioned in the presentation, and you also mentioned in the press release in the acquisition that this company is already profitable. What can you say about the profitability to sort of put this price tag into perspective?
Let me just say that they're quite profitable. And you can also see it because we're actually buying the company, including all the retained earnings, and that actually includes 1.1 million in retained euros in retained earnings. So if you take that into perspective, then we think this is a very, very attractive acquisition we've done here.
Then let's look at the other company that you also acquired. It's Seluxit, and it was heading towards bankruptcy, if I remember the press release correctly. How come you acquired this company?
Well, this is one of these opportunities that just appears, and you don't have very long time to actually make the decision. So if you look at our press releases, you can also see there is 1 week between Seluxit acquisition and the Pragmasoft acquisition. So it was definitely not intentional that it should be like that, but the opportunity was there. And Seluxit actually was also headquartered in Aalborg, where we also have our headquarters. So we know them quite well. And what they have developed of a platform and services really is very, very impressive. And they changed the strategy a few years back here, but they just ran out of runway to make it profitable, And again, us bringing the assets into Wirtek and key personnel, we already have a lot of the overhead that they were also challenged with as part of our organization. So actually, we are able to bring the cost level down quite a bit for running that business there, and it of course comes with clients, right? It's not a company that went bankrupt because it didn't have clients. So it's really, really an interesting company with a lot of potential there, and we believe that we are going to bring that into a very, very good proposition for our clients very fast.
And the new clients, can you offer your core business or your more traditional sense of business to them?
Could you repeat?
In terms of the new clients that you're acquiring with these acquisitions, could you also offer your core business that isn't a part of the Seluxit offer.
Absolutely, that's kind of the intention. Also, having upsell opportunities, right? Because if you have clients that needs platforms and products that Seluxit is producing, it's very, and we actually have meetings concerning this, in the pipeline right now. But actually, it's the other services that Wirtek can provide, can also be very interesting for these clients.
But towards these two acquisitions, how is the integration plan looking? How will you integrate these two companies as smoothly as possible into the Wirtek family?
Well, we are already in the middle of working on this because there is actually a lot of potential combined value, both with Pragmasoft and Seluxit, because they're developing products at a level that actually makes this into a really, really nice potential product towards our clients. So we are working hard on this, and yeah, that requires some trips to Portugal as well. But that's just part of the business. Concerning Pragmasoft, yes, we also have an earn-out there. So, of course, integration will happen, but we're doing it at the services level, internal services level, and the earn-out is structured in such a way that we can actually start getting the shared services integrated there without it impacting the seller's ability to reach their earn-out goals.
Looking at your cash position, I noticed that it decreased from 5.2 million Danish crowns to now 1.7. Could you make a statement how you currently look at your cash position?
Well, this is something that is, of course, always really, really important for us. But what we can see, of course, is we are pretty good at generating operational cash flow, positive operational cash flow, and that's what, of course, we're doing investments, we're doing dividend, we just had dividend payouts as well, right? So of course, that does, reduce cash in the short term. But, what you don't see in those numbers, of course, we just did the acquisition, for instance, of Pragmasoft, and they have quite a big cash position. If you look at the 1.1 million in retained earnings, there's a lot of cash behind that, right? So yes, I think the cash position is quite good. And it is a constant focus area for Wirtek, because that's what gives us the freedom to act, like, for instance, buying assets for Seluxit when the opportunity is there, right?
If we look forward, then I noticed that despite you have acquisition on this side, you have the lower results for Q2 on that side, and you're keeping your outlook for the rest of 2024 unchanged. Perhaps they eliminate one another. Could you speak a little bit about Wirtek's expectations towards the end of the year?
Well, what we did say is, we are keeping our expectations right now, and then we are looking in the coming period here on the effects that the acquisitions of Pragmasoft and Seluxit are having there, as well as very, very big investments in business development. Now we already start seeing this pipeline grow. So we do expect also positive effects from this. Now, how much of that is having the benefit this year or how much is pushed into next year, that's always really, really hard to say, right? But we are seeing some very positive signs out there that looks quite promising for us getting to a point where we can actually start having also positive organic growth again.
Then if I adjust the timeline a little bit more ahead towards 2025, where your strategy's eyes currently lay, how would you answer the question then?
Well, I, of course, can't tell you anything about that since we haven't addressed that in our reporting there, So you will be the first to know if something changes together with everybody else out there, right?
Very well, Michael. Thank you very much for being here and presenting and answering our questions, of course.
Okay, thank you.